We'll start in comfortable seat and ideally raising your base. So giving yourself a little bit of extra cushioning just to free up some space in the hips. And ideally it brings a little bit of ease to the spine as well when we give ourselves a little bit of a lift. And if being seated cross-legged doesn't work for your body today, try doing one leg bent, the other one stretched, or maybe you take on a slightly different approach. We're going to do a little bit of a drop-in kind of check-in meditation and then shift into a little bit of somatic work this morning before we get into the yin. So with all of that being said, making those last few adjustments as you drop into your seat, looking to cultivate as much ease as possible through body, heart, and mind as the stillness starts to work through your body. Inviting your eyes to close if you haven't done so already. Allowing for the hands to rest gently in your lap. Invite the shoulders to drop away from your ears. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose and let it go. Further welcoming yourself onto your mat, into your space, into this sacred time that you've set aside to dedicate to practice today. And let's just come to invite the hands to rest on the body somewhere. Maybe it's over the heart or heart and belly or somewhere else. Where do you feel you need a little bit of extra touch, extra connection in this moment? And checking in with your gentle and kind body, physical, mental, and energetic layers that are you. Feeling the parts of you that are connected to the earth. Feeling into the parts of you that move with breath, expanding, contracting, gentle, fluid. And as you pay attention to your breath, just noticing its various qualities, temperature, flow, duration. And if you happen to find that your breath is a little bit jittery this morning or hiccupy, see if you can gradually slow that breath down and start to smooth out those little edges. Offering up the subtle reminder to yourself that the permission is always there to do or not do any part of practice, to allow yourself to adapt and change based on what your body needs. We'll offer up a little bit of sound, just some humming this morning, and we'll allow for the hum to ripple out 3 times. A clearing breath first. And inhaling to your own sound practice. Just staying with hands connected wherever they are for a few more moments. And then we allow the hands to release down to thighs, knees. And we're just going to do a few little Sufi circles here, maybe 4 or 5 in one direction. And then taking the pause, the body integrates for a moment, and then you come around the other way. Coming back to a place of stillness after you've balanced out those little circular movements. And before we come into the Namaste flow, just rearranging the way that your body was set up in your seat. Just readjusting. Maybe you need to completely change the way that you were seated. And then we'll invite the hands to join together at the heart center. Just pausing and breathing here for a moment. And then anchoring breath and movement together, allowing your eyes to open as you bring light back in. We take a nice inhale here, pushing into the palms. Feel the elbows opening out to the side. And then as you exhale, we slowly start to open up those hands, thumb and first finger together, making a triangle. Drop the head, tuck the tail. And then we inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Maybe the gaze follows, palms might touch over you. And then exhale, sweeping down to the side, and the hands come back to heart. And we inhale here. Exhale, push and round that little triangle as you tuck in. And then inhale, the arms sweep up overhead. Exhale, releasing, hands find their way back to the heart. And bowing if you wish. And then inhale, everything lengthens. Exhale, push out. Inhale, sweeping up. Exhale, release. and back around to heart. Inhaling, hands in Anjali Mudra. Exhale, push and round. Sweeping up and over. And release back to the heart. And again, maybe you're bowing as the breath completes. And just allowing yourself to go through 3 more of these. And maybe you try to stretch the breath out and feel into the body a little bit more for this last round, slowing things down. Softening the entire experience. Allow the hands to release into your lap, palms turn up. Just feel into the sweetness that lingers from that little flow. Relax your shoulders, your face. And then we'll turn the palms down, rearrange your sitting again. So we're going to do a little twisting play here. So we're going to start by taking the right hand over to the left knee, thigh, based on your configuration. And then the left hand comes behind you. So pretty typical for a seated spinal twist, but we're going to play with it here. So right hand to left knee, left hand behind. And as you start to breathe out, we gradually start to twist through to the left. And don't worry about the motion of the head. It's all about that little squeeze and rotation in the ribs and in the spine. And then you're letting yourself breathe here and doing just a little bit of a spot check. Notice where this first twist takes you. Let your gaze landmark a spot somewhere in this rotation for you. And then we'll inhale and slowly unravel. Keep the hands where they are. And exhale, you're going to tuck your chin towards your chest and round out the back slightly. And then we inhale, lengthen up. Exhale, journey into the twist off to the left. Slowly unwind a little bit. And then exhale, tuck the chin, brace through the core a little bit. Inhale up. Exhale, twist. Gentle inhale to release. And then exhale once again, drop the chin towards the chest, curling in. And just explore this for 3 more times or turns on your own. Just letting the twist evolve. Soma is all about creating space in the body so that the prana, the chi, can flow more freely. And when you come out of your last one, unwind just a little bit. Pause and feel there's probably this big flush of energy that starts to course through you. And let's do a little spot check again. So re-anchoring into your twist, that tall spine, and then turning to gaze behind you. Hopefully there's a sense of more space. That point that you landmarked is no longer valid. It's now traveled somewhere else, hopefully a bit deeper. And then we completely release, coming back to center and rearranging the legs once again. And this moment to pause and feel into the differences between left and right. And then we take the twist over to the other side. So that left hand to the right knee thigh, right hand behind you. And we start with that first exhale and just gradually twisting in, not trying to crank the head far back, just letting it lead with the body. And again, making a little landmark point with your gaze for this first little twist. And then we unwind slightly and take that curl where you round out the spine, drop the head. And then we enter into the flow, inhaling, expanding, exhale, twist. Inhale, unwind that little bit, and then exhale, round and drop again. So your body and your mind have an understanding of this after having done it the first time through. So let's do this 5 more times in your own pace, at your own discretion. Trying to relax the face and jaw as much as possible while you're doing this. And whenever you've done your 5, come to that slight unwinding, pausing and feeling for a moment. And then doing that little spot check, that reevaluation, tall spine, twisting in, and just noticing where your new landmark for your gaze is. And hopefully you've gained some range of motion. There's more space. And then the full release. Let's just take the legs out if they happen to have been tucked under. You can do stillness, you can do a little bit of movement. What does your body need right now as it's integrating? Just being aware of the left and right side sensations. And then we'll turn ourselves over to all fours, just finding tabletop for a little bit, patting up your knees if necessary, fanning out nice and wide through those fingers. If the wrists are sore, you could always do fists or knuckles. I'm not going to be here for too long. And really letting your body kind of wiggle and move around as you settle into this tabletop. I know in my body right now, I feel like I need to fidget a little bit. So I'm honoring that and just kind of wiggling until I feel the settle. And then cow, cat, and child's pose. That's going to be our movement here before we settle into the yin. So as you inhale, let that belly drop, crown and tail float. And then exhaling, rounding out to cat, and then gliding the hips back towards the heels. Child's pose as you bow towards the earth for a moment. And then inhale, come up, cow. Exhale, cat to child's. Just seeking out your own rhythm and expression of this little bit of movement. And last time through. And while you're back in your child's pose, just lifting the head, the arms reaching. We're going to walk the hands off to the left side. Find a natural stopping point and then stack your right hand on top of your left one and kind of let the rib cage drift out to the right side, rounding a little bit there, stretching. And then coming out of that through an inhale, sinking back into your child's pose for just a moment. Noticing whatever it is that you notice in your body. And then we'll come up to that extended position again. And now we walk the hands over to the right side, just as far as you can go. And then you stack your left hand on top of the right one. And we gently push out through the left side of the rib cage, getting that deep stretch and release through the left edge of the body now. And coming out of that, returning to your center, and let's take on tabletop. We're just going to tuck the toes underneath for a moment here. And it might be tucking your toes is enough. Maybe you want to walk the hands back, add a bit more pressure. Just coming into toe squat. Maybe you're in a position where you can lift up and sit fully back on the heels today. So really just honoring the body, choosing one of the many layers that you could adapt and adopt. And we'll release out of the toe squat. Untucking the feet, let them lightly touch down on the ground. Feel that little rush of chi flushing down into your feet, through your ankles, maybe even into your calves and your shins. And then we balance that out by maybe coming to Seiza. And if sitting back on the heels doesn't work for you, doing high kneeling and then just leaning in and out a little bit to just pressurize the tops of the feet works just as well. And if you happen to be in Seiza and this is working out pretty good for you and you want to try a little more stretch through the ankles, you could start leaning back. It's going to wake up your quads, and maybe even play with taking the knees off the ground And just supporting yourself there, either balancing or hands behind your body for a little bit of a kickstand. This is the ankle stretch. And then letting that setup go. Return to tabletop. Give the feet and the ankles a moment to recalibrate. And then we'll drop hips off to a side as we bring the legs around in front of us and let them come long. So if you've got a little rear tilt to your pelvis, you'll want to wedge up a fold of the blanket or maybe roll the edge of your mat just to lift the sits bones slightly. So we're doing caterpillar pose, just letting the legs stay long and allow them to relax. So we're not trying to force everything rigid and strong here. We want the muscles to relax. That's the premise of our yin practice. And this might be enough for you, especially if your hamstrings are quite tight. You might be feeling this already, and caterpillar with the spine relatively tall is where you may choose to stay. And just let your experience revolve around the breath, inhaling and observing where tension might rest. And then exhaling and softening those tighter spaces. Relax your shoulders, your face. And over time, if this initial setup starts to feel pretty neutral for you, you can explore the possibility of folding forward. So if there's a little tummy roll here, you just use your fingers, tuck it under, and then the body more contentedly folds in. And there's no straining or striving, reminding ourselves to keep the legs relaxed. Letting the head drop if it feels okay for the neck and the shoulders. And just keep coming back to the breath over and over again as we encourage muscles to relax, breath to flow with ease. And offering up 3 releasing breaths before we shift position. In through nose, out with a bit of a sigh. And taking your time as you come out of that caterpillar pose, Just reach back to hinge on the hands, letting everything just rush through the front side of your body. Breathing and resisting the urge to shake and wiggle in this moment. And then we'll lift ourselves up, coming into butterfly pose. So bringing soles of feet together, creating a nice wide diamond shape. And maybe challenging the autopilot response to butterfly pose. So maybe you choose to try and play with the heels slightly closer, or maybe you try to take them away. Just exploring the varying sensations that travel through the hips, the knees, so on and so forth. And once you're there, let's just rock side to side a little bit, almost like you're doing a bit of a half circle in front of you. And being curious about how your body receives this little bit of movement. So if you get into leaning to a side and you really enjoy that stretch on the opposite side, maybe stay there for a few moments and just let the breath inhabit that space that's enjoying the release. And just making sure if you're taking that little pause and hold approach that you apply the same amount of time to the opposite side. And eventually finding some form of stillness. Inviting the spine to curl with the option to keep the head slightly elevated and just focusing on the release of the hips and the spine. Or if it feels okay to let the shoulders begin to curl and the head to begin to drop, exploring that as well. And what you do with your hands is entirely up to you. Little by little, settling into a place of stillness. Where else might you be able to soften, to release? Maybe you needed to call your attention back to breath.
3 releasing breaths before you move. And once again, when you're ready to move, taking your time, little by little, finding the extension in your spine. And as you're ready, scoop up those legs, let them stretch away from you. And we're just going to hang back on those hands, let the body integrate the effects of butterfly. And what is it that you're aware of in this little pocket of stillness between your breath, your body, your heart, and your mind? Just feeling into all of those layers without judgment or stories. We'll turn ourselves over onto our bellies on the mat. Setting up for a little bit of crocodile pose. So the invitation here is to tuck your toes underneath so you're waking up those legs. Let your hips rock side to side here. And for some of you, this might be enough, so you just keep exploring this little bit of movement. For others, you may wish to strengthen this further and maybe come into just a little bit of a low plank for a moment and then set back down. Sometimes our bodies need that exaggerated contraction to find the release. And eventually letting everything come down, relax your feet. And then we create that little perch. So making a little bowl with your hands to support your head. Inviting everything to relax from your mid-spine all the way down to the toes. The weight of your head supported by your hands. Gaze gently softening. Maybe the eyes close completely. Feel into the rhythm of breath in your body. Feel the slow releasing that works its way through with every breath. One clearing breath here. Releasing the hands from your head, bring them underneath your shoulders and gently push your way back into some form of child's pose that works for you. Maybe you're stacking fists to make a little bit of a pillar to hold your head up higher. Maybe the arms stretch away. What feels good in your body right now as a child's pose variant? As you're ready, releasing from your child's pose and taking yourself over onto your back on the mat. And drawing the knees in towards the chest, just give yourself a little hug and squeeze. Maybe you feel you need some rocking movement. And from here, let's just draw some circles with our knees. So you'll slowly draw the knees closer towards your chest. Let them open out to the side, push away, and then come back towards center. Draw them up, out, away, and then through the midline. So that's your motion, just being curious. And you'll go one more time in that direction and then pause. Maybe squeeze the knees a little bit tighter towards the chest. And then we'll reverse the motion. So push the knees away from you in the center, open wide, draw up towards the armpits, and then close. Just reversing that motion. Two more times around. And then you'll release your feet to the mat, knees up towards the ceiling. Open the arms out to the side. Just pausing here. Bearing weight into your heels, you'll pick up your hips, slide them out to the right side, set them down, and then the knees come over to the left. And if it feels okay to do so, stretch out that right leg, the top leg. I'm taking a slightly different perspective on the twist today. And you can play with the angle of that right arm. Maybe it slides along the floor until you find a spot that's interesting. Nice relaxed breaths here in your twist. And then gently releasing, bringing the legs back underneath you, hips back underneath you.
If it feels okay to do goalposts or cactus arms while you're on your back, let that be your little resting place. Otherwise, the arms just stretch out where they're comfortable. And from here, we pick up the hips, scoot them out to the left side, set them down. Draw your legs off to the right and extend that left leg long, with the option to play with sliding your left arm along the floor until you find a place of interesting sensation there. Gentle breaths as you allow the body to release. And letting that go, everything returns to center. Hips come square underneath you. Take a breath. Tuning into that inner wisdom and mindfully shifting your position if you need to come into your version of Shavasana for today. So many options, including staying exactly as you are if that's what brings you comfort and ease in this moment. As you settle in, perhaps offering a few final releasing breaths to your practice, just to help the nervous system integrate further. Just this. The first ringing of the bowl brings your awareness back to you, to your space, your body as it lays against the earth. The second ringing of the bowl invites that awareness to breath, body, heart, and mind as they are now. And the third ringing of the bowl is that invitation back to movement, to aliveness, letting yourself stretch and wiggle and roll, doing whatever makes sense as you start to find your way back to sitting. When you find yourself back in that place, as you root down through the sits bones and reach tall through the crown of the head, invite your hands to return to body, to just hold yourself tenderly a little longer. Offer kindness and gratitude towards yourself for the courage and the willingness to step on the mat and practice today. And gratitude for all of the precious puzzle pieces of life that fell into place to allow us to connect and share practice. Another offering of sound, a single hum, or maybe you feel like oming, clearing breath first. Like me bows to the light in you. I thank you for your practice. Namaste.